I'm Maria Elena Giassi, and this is Currents. To abstain or not to abstain? Parents and politicians lock arms and protest New York City's schools' sex ed mandate with a call for choice in the classroom.
Give us a choice in Plan B, abstinence-based program.
Plus, for this Long Island University Newman Club, the ABCs mean aid, benefit, and charity.
When we began it 6 years ago, our goal was to make about $2,500, and we made twice that the first time.
And the Diocese of Brooklyn celebrates young men and women for their charity around the world.
The third Sunday of October every year is designated by the Church Universal as Mission Sunday, a day in which we concentrate our attention on the mission of the Church, which is to evangelize the whole world.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Matt McClure has the night off. Local elected officials are the latest to join the call for an alternative to New York City's new sex education mandate. Congressman Bob Turner and State Senator Martin Golden were among those who teamed up yesterday with a coalition of parents and activists to call for an abstinence-based option to the new sex ed curriculum. The new curriculum, which goes into effect in January, includes teaching children as young as 11 years old how to use a condom and engage in sexual activity. It's a program that some say is the wrong approach.
We're here because of the city's ill-considered, poorly introduced sex education mandate. You know that when the mayor announced his Young Men's Initiative, he decided a few days later that he wanted to expand it to include mandatory sex education in our middle schools and public high schools. Most offensive would be the aspects of asking high school students and middle schoolers to go to a local CVS pharmacy or bodega to catalog the types and various kinds of condoms that are out there. Sending children to take a look at and catalog where the nearest family planning clinics are, to map out their directions, how to get there, and to make sure they go there and learn what the confidentiality requirements are.
There are alternatives to this. What we're simply asking for is a different approach. Not in opposition to what you have. You can keep Plan A. Give us a choice in Plan B, abstinence-based program.
It includes abstinence, but it's not abstinence-centered. It gives abstinence as an option, but it doesn't say this is the only way to save a life.
They're talking about condoms. They're talking about taking our children from the schools down to abortion mills. I mean, it's encouraging sexual activity.
Now we're going to actually teach them how to have sex and give them a false sense of security with high failure rate contraceptives.
You're taking freedoms and you're taking decisions out of the parents' hands, and forcing parents to make decisions whether they're going to leave their kids in certain schools or move kids out of schools and move into private schools.
Only a parent knows their child, and they should be able to decide at what pace, what time frame, and what level they learn sexual education. It is really extreme, it is explicit, and in many ways I think it is not what parents want in our schools.
I have a 13-year-old. We teach abstinence at home. We don't expect our son to be going to the corner drugstore or supermarket or CVS drugstore to check out condoms.
There's a website that's recommended for students to go to called Go Ask Alice, which discusses a number of, for some parents, for some families, embarrassing kinds of sexual activities. What's at stake is not having a real effect on lowering the teen pregnancy rate.
The comprehensive program the city is mandating has not been shown to reduce the number of pregnancies. It has not been shown to increase condom use. A similar program is used in the UK. Over a 10-year period, they spent almost $500 million on this program throughout the entire country, and the teen pregnancy rate was almost completely unchanged, and the STD rate went through the roof.
I'm here today in the capacity of a parent and as a grandmother. I do not believe that this is just an isolated incident. What happens in one part of the United States, what happens in New York, how New York goes will the rest of the world. And we see that over and over again. So if it is the only curriculum that is authorized and allowed in the school, then it will become that way in schools all over the nation.
You have to wonder why the curriculum is one that's sponsored by Planned Parenthood. It's by ETR, their former publishing arm, is publishing this curriculum.
We'd asked them to rethink this and there's still time.
Next week, November 2nd, we're meeting with the Chancellor's office to discuss this issue. And we have 22 evidence-based, abstinence-centered curricula that are out there. We want them to choose. We're not going to tell them which ones to choose, have them take a look at it, and determine which one they want. We want to have it side by side with the city's 2 other curricula that are there. That's all we're asking for.
And I have to believe that even though we vehemently disagree and they may disagree with our points of view, I do believe that ultimately the Department of Education is a public institution and has to respond to the greatest, the voices in the public. And this squeaky wheel is going to continue to squeak until we get the oil we need.
Mayor Bloomberg responded to criticism of the curriculum today, saying that parents have the choice of pulling their children out of the sex education portion of the mandated curriculum. Stay tuned. There's more currents ahead. Just weeks after the killing of Coptic Christians in Egypt, one group is warning of a cover-up. We'll have that story and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Maria Elena Giassi. Coming up later, students in Brooklyn get recognized for helping the less fortunate around the world. First, let's have a look at the day's headlines. A leading international human rights group is warning about a possible cover-up in the killing of more than 20 Coptic Christians in Egypt. Human Rights Watch is calling for an independent investigation of the deaths, urging authorities to transfer the investigation from the military to civilian prosecutors. The victims were killed by Egypt's military while protesting the burning of a Coptic church. The October 9 clash was the deadliest incident in Egypt since the overthrow of President Hosni Mubarak in February. The Vatican has launched a formal inquiry into the claims of decades of sexual abuse at a Benedictine abbey in London. Former students of St. Benedict's, the neighboring school run by Ealing Abbey, allege abuse dating as far back as the 1960s. A former school headmaster was jailed in 2009 for abuse spanning over a 35-year period. A priest who was Ealing's abbot from 1991 till 2000 was arrested last year on suspicion of sexual assault. He is currently the subject of an international manhunt after jumping bail. Elsewhere in London, an historic Anglican cathedral wants occupiers off its property. CNN's Erin McLaughlin has the story.
Over 200 tents fill this space outside of St. Paul's Cathedral here in London, pitched in protest for what many say are the inequities of the global financial crisis. The surrounding camp has forced this 400-year-old landmark to close its doors for what clergy say are health and safety issues. The last time its doors were forced to shutter, it was the Blitz, September 12, 1940, after a bomb fell next to the Southwest Tower. A spokesperson for Occupy London admitted that this space is at capacity. And so they've expanded their operation. Over 100 protesters have pitched their tents here at Finsbury Square, located on the edge of London's financial district. Many of them say that this is about joining a global movement.
Banks and politics are now completely interrelated. So the politics has actually ignored everyone, a vast majority of people in this country, and of course across the world. So I'm here to represent the people that feel that they have no voice, but also to effect a change.
I think there should be a greater degree of corporate accountability and responsibility, particularly with the banks. They're supposed to be the most polarised ideal of what capitalism represents. By their own system, they've failed.
And how long do you expect this process to take?
I'm here until we've got the 99% on board and everyone's starting to think alternatives, and so however long that takes, indefinitely.
Protesters have been gathering at this park for 2 days now, and already it looks pretty full. Volunteers say that further expansion to other sites in London is possible.
That was CNN's Erin McLaughlin reporting. St. Paul's officials say the occupiers are costing the cathedral close to $25,000 a day, and the cathedral could be closed through Christmas. The U.S. Bishops' Conference Anti-Poverty Program says it will no longer give grants to a New York-based group that works with AIDS patients. The Catholic Campaign for Human Development, or CCHD, says the New York AIDS Housing Network is no longer eligible for funding because of their condom giveaway program. CCHD says the New York AIDS Housing Network had undergone a, quote, vigorous vetting process and that there was no evidence of condom distribution when the grant was awarded. A teacher in Texas has resigned after she was placed on a leave for giving a student an anti-Catholic pamphlet. The teacher gave a 12-year-old student a pamphlet entitled "Are Roman Catholics Christians?" and offered to give other students as many copies as they wanted. The pamphlet also included the name of a church with the teacher listed as its pastor. An Oklahoma school district faces a lawsuit for not allowing a Christian club to promote its events on school campuses. An attorney for Kids for Christ say organizers were told not to publicize their events, while other groups, including the Boy Scouts of America and the YMCA, are allowed to promote their activities. Lawyers for Kids for Christ say the group only wants equal access. From Montana, the Knights of Columbus is fighting to keep a statue of Jesus at the place it's been the last 58 years, a ski slope. The Knights built the statue on a piece of land that it leases from the U.S. Forest Service. This summer, the Knights were notified that the lease would not be renewed over church-state concerns. The Forest Service says it is working with the Knights to find another location for the statue. The Knights, however, are hoping to keep the statue right where it is. Meanwhile, thieves in Phoenix decided to help themselves to a statue of Jesus at one Catholic church. Navita Forgani has that story.
At first glance, everything seems to be normal at St. Teresa Roman Catholic Parish. The pigeons are feasting on the church's lawn as the bell tower loudly reminds everyone what time it is. But something is missing at St. Teresa's.
And I glanced over there and it was gone.
Gone is the 4-foot statue of Jesus, stolen from its parish on its now empty marble pedestal.
But you somehow think that a sacred object would be a little safer, especially one that's bolted down to a marble cube.
Luckily, someone was watching from above, and no, we're not talking about him. A surveillance camera high above the parking lot captured this video of thieves backing a white Ford up to the statue and loading it into the back. Father Chuck, whose emotions have run the gamut from anger to sadness, hopes that the thieves' guilt will lead to a happy ending.
Maybe, and this is completely idealistic, of course, but maybe the whole experience might get them reconsidering their own relationship with God. Who knows?
That report from Navita Forgani. Stay tuned. There's more currents ahead. Coming up, a local priest travels the globe to share his time, talent, and treasure.
I began working with the mission in Arusha, Tanzania, about 6 years ago. I met Father Jack Regman, a priest of the Congregation of the Holy Spirit.
Welcome back. This past Sunday, the church celebrated World Mission Sunday, a day when Catholics are asked to recommit themselves to the church's missionary activity. The Diocese of Brooklyn also took the opportunity to recognize some young people whose dedication and hard work have helped to make the world a better place for the less fortunate in faraway lands. Among those honored for their service was the Newman Club at Long Island University right here in Brooklyn for its work helping people in Tanzania. Earlier today, our Ed Wilkinson sat down with the chaplain of LIU's campus ministry, Father Charles Keeney.
Father Charles Keeney, congratulations on the recognition that your Newman Club received on Mission Sunday. Bishop DiMarzio singled the Mission Club out, the Newman Club, for its help for the missions in Tanzania. So tell us about the missions that you help, the people that you help in Africa.
Well, first, thanks for the invitation to be here and for the congratulations. I began working with the mission in Arusha, Tanzania, about 6 years ago. I met Father Jack Regman, a priest of the Congregation of the Holy Spirit, a native of Poland, and he told me about an unusual, very needy charitable program that he started and was about ready to give up with because of the lack of funds. And so when I spoke to the college students at Long Island University, they decided that they would try to help, and we've been very lucky and successful for the last 5 or 6 years in in helping keep that program going. And starting a school, and recently we actually just bought a brand new school bus, so we're kind of happy about that.
So is this a tough sell when you found out about it and you came back and you talked to the students? How did they react?
It was not a tough sell because it was such a tough story, interesting enough. It was a story about, it started as a story about jail. I asked Father Jack how the jail was at in the city of Arusha, because I had been working as a chaplain at Rikers Island at the time and just wanted to have a comparison. And when he started telling us about the jail, how it was so overcrowded, how the legal system was the direct opposite of ours, how there was no real help when it came to law library, television, radio, information, and that you waited 5 years to see the judge on an accusation before you even got, you know, your day in court to find out if they're even going to go with it. And then he told us that the mothers bring the little children to jail and that they spend time there, years in jail as well. And he said he was starting a home, take care of them, but he was going to run out of money. So when I told the youngsters about the situation of the young kids in jail, their hearts were kind of like broken a little bit, and they said, we're going to help them, and we have been since.
Now, who is Sister Flora?
Sister Flora is a sister from the Order of the St. Gemma Galgani Sisters, and she's the director of St. Gabriel's Home and School. Father Jack began the program as a home. He wanted to take care of the young little children who otherwise would be in jail, so we got a couple of the sisters together. They started the home. And then after 2 years or so, he wanted to send them to school, but there was no school in that particular area, so the sisters decided they would start a school as well. And so they started with six residents, and now they have as many as 15 or 16 residents in a school with 150 children. And every year they're adding one more grade of the grammar school until they finish. Over there, grammar school goes up to the 7th grade.
So the students at LIU basically raise funds, and then you send the funds over to Africa, right?
Over to Sister, yes.
What are some of the activities that you do to raise that money?
Well, the two major activities are charitable dinners, where I coax my friends to come and charge them twice as much as it's going to cost us for the dinner, and, you know, Sister gets half of it. We're going to have one of them November 11th at Douglaston at the Immaculate Conception Center. And the other activity that the students came up with is what they call the Rockathon, where they sit and rock in rocking chairs for hours on end. And they look for sponsors, you know, like you do a walkathon or whatever, but I guess the college kids are tired. They got to sit down and just rock. And when we began it 6 years ago, you know, our goal was to make about $2,500, and we made twice that the first time. And we just did it last week, and I had 97 different students in school participate by rocking.
Wow.
And we raised so far over $7,000 again.
How many kids do you have involved in the Newman Apostolate?
In the Newman Club, there's only probably about 20, 24 of them who are very kind of active. But when we have activities, we certainly open it up to everybody else. And in particular, the student athletes have really come on board with us in the baseball team, the softball, volleyball, whatever. And they've been very, very helpful to us.
You know, we have a fancy word we throw around, evangelization. This is really the work of evangelization.
Well, in a lot of ways, the youngsters who participate, when it's all said and done, and I tell them at the end how much you raised and what it was for, they say, wow, that's a lot. That's really good. And I said, yes, and you were part of it. And they try to teach each one, if you play your part, good things can come. You play your part in the church, you know, the kingdom of God will come.
And the same thing on the other side of the ocean there. I mean, we're evangelizing the people there, right?
Yes, yeah. We're doing a good job over there right now. So.
Well, congratulations again on the being recognized by Bishop DiMarzio on Mission Sunday, and continued success with the Newman Apostolate at Long Island University.
Thank you very much, Ed. God bless you too.
Stay tuned. There's more currents ahead. When we return, while most kids are watching cartoons, these young men and women are changing the world, one donation at a time.
It just feels great in my heart to donate money to the missions to help other kids.
Finally tonight, it is never too early to start giving back. And on World Mission Sunday, some young people in the Diocese of Brooklyn were honored for their hard work on behalf of the Catholic missions. These young men and women are the proud product of Catholic schooling in Brooklyn and Queens, and they are also card-carrying members of the Holy Childhood Association, an organization that fosters awareness of missions around the world at an early age. While most young people are focused on what they want for Christmas this year, these budding philanthropists have learned that the greatest gift of all is sometimes the one you share with others.
My brothers and sisters, we welcome you here today to this Cathedral Basilica for the celebration of Mission Sunday. It reminds us that we are from our baptism called all to be missionaries, and that we must support missionaries today who are in various countries with our prayers, offerings, and sacrifices. The third Sunday of October every year is designated by the Church Universal as Mission Sunday, a day in which we concentrate our attention on the mission of the church, which is to evangelize the whole world. And today we come with the school children especially, who will receive awards for the wonderful work they've done with the propagation of the faith and the Society of the Holy Child.
The Holy Childhood Association was founded by a French bishop who thought it was necessary that the children of the world who are able to could donate to the missions to help the children who are part of the missions. And that's basically the reason for the association. And over the years, they've been very generous with the money and prayers, money they've donated and the prayers that they've made for the missions.
We have normal mission collections each month. We also do various activities where just this past month we did a car wash to raise money for the missions.
It just feels great in my heart to donate money to the missions to help other kids and other people. We've been doing pizza day, or pretzel day, Yankee candle sales, and Christmas sales, and we've been selling candy bars for,
We know in our own country people are in need, but it's nothing like the need of those in the missions. They are truly poor because they lack everything they need.
Is something that has been part of my life for, for 70 years. I've always been well received. Somebody come from the U.S., from the U.S. Church, from Catholic Relief Services. People were very happy to see me.
By the sacrifices that we make, especially where the children make these sacrifices, they're helping missionaries to befriend those who are our neighbors, because we are neighbors to everyone in the world. And we have to learn from a young age what's important. Someday there may be missionaries among these children that are inspired by what they do to be missionaries someplace else in the world.
That is all for this edition of Currents. Coming up tomorrow, a growing Catholic community gets a new place to call home in Brooklyn. We'll have that and much more tomorrow. Until then, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, so check us out there as well. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Maria Elena Giassi. Thank you for watching and have a good night.